Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. In today's video, we are going to discuss this important integrated science revision paper that will help you review and master key concepts quickly and effectively. So whether you are in grade 7, 8 and 9 preparing for the end year exam, or you are in grade 9 and you are preparing for the Kenya Junior School Education Assessment, this is the right paper because it is designed to make studying easier. So as usual, we are going to begin with section A, which is a multi-choice questions, and then we will go to section B, which is a structured question. So the first question, grade 9 learners were asked by their teacher to define an element. Who among the following gave the correct answer? A. Grace said, it's a pure substance that consists of two or more atoms of different kind. This one of two or more atoms of different kind, this is a definition of a compound. This one is for a compound. Then B. Ben said, it's a substance that cannot be decomposed into simpler substances by any chemical mean. A substance that cannot be split or be decomposed into a simpler substance by any chemical mean. This one is for an element. This one is for an element. Then C, Mary said, is a pure substance that consists of two or more compounds. In this case, if she could have added which are physically combined, it could qualify to be a definition of a mixture. And then D, Moses said, it's anything that has or that occupies space and has mass. This is a definition of matter. So in this case, the correct answer for an element is the one that Ben gave, that is B, is that it is a substance that cannot be decomposed into a simpler substance by any chemical means. The second question, Robert wrote down the chemical symbols of some element, the chemical symbols of some elements. Which one of the following was wrongly written? Which one is wrongly written? The first one, carbon. Carbon, the chemical symbol is C, and it comes from the first letter of the name carbon. Copper, the Latin name of copper is cuprum. This one, the Latin name is cuprum, and it's cuprum. Let me write properly. Is cuprum, and the chemical symbol comes from the first two letters, that is Cu. But now in this case, Robert wrote Ca. Therefore, it means this one is wrongly written. The correct chemical symbol of copper is C small u. Then C, chlorine. The symbol comes from the first letter in capital and then the third letter, that is Cl. It's also chlorine is correct. And then sodium, the Latin name for sodium is natrium. It's natrium. Therefore, the chemical symbol comes from the first two letters, Na, for sodium is correct. So the wrongly written chemical symbol is for copper, that is B. Then the third question, which one of the following properties of matter describes liquids? A, liquids have no definite shape. This one is very correct. Liquid don't have a definite shape. They take the shape of the container. Then B, liquids have no fixed volume. This one is wrong. No fixed volume is for the gases. Then C, liquids are highly compressible. This one is wrong. Highly compressible is for the gases. And then D, have indefinite volume. Liquids have their volume. So the one which don't have which have indefinite volume are gases. They don't have a fixed volume. So the correct answer here for the liquids is that they have no definite shape. So question 4. The diagram below shows a plant cell as observed under a light microscope. Use it to answer question 4 and 5. So you can see we have a plant cell with parts labeled X, W, M, S. We have Q, R, T, and many others. So question 4 asks, name the part labeled X and Y respectively. X and Y respectively. The question needs us to name part X first, then followed by Y. So in this case, before we label this X and Y, and since we are revising, it's very important for us to label all the parts so that it helps us in revision. So the part labeled Z is called a nuclear membrane. The part labeled Y is a cell wall. The part labeled Q is a cell membrane. The part labeled R is a rough endoplasmic reticulum. The part labeled T is a nucleus. The part labeled U is a nucleus. The part labeled M is a smooth endoplasmic reticulum. The part labeled N is a Golgi body. The part labeled X is a chloroplast. The part labeled V is a mitochondria. The part labeled W is a peroxisome. And then we have the part labeled S, which is a vacuole. So the question is asking, we name the part labeled X and Y respectively. So this part here should contain an answer for X, and then this one should contain an answer for Y. So X is a nuclear. In this case, no. X is a chloroplast. So the first answer is wrong. This one is wrong. Let's cancel on the other side. This one is wrong. Then the second one, B, which is a cytoplasm. Cytoplasm does not even appear on this one. Cytoplasm is this part here. These are cytoplasm. So X is not a cytoplasm, so this one is also wrong. C, we have a chloroplast for X, which is right. And then we have a cell wall for Y, which is also right. So this is the correct answer here. And then D, we have a chloroplast, X, which is correct. And then Y, cell membrane, which is wrong. Y is not a cell membrane. Y is a cell wall. So here the correct answer is C, cytoplasm for X, and then cell wall for Y. Then question 5, what is the function of the part labeled Y? This cell wall, which we have said is a cell wall. What is its function? A, it acts as a site for photosynthesis. Acts as a site for photosynthesis is very wrong, because for photosynthesis, it is the part labeled X. X is the site for photosynthesis, which we call a chloroplast. Then B, it selectively allows materials in and out of the cell. This one is also wrong. It's not the function of Y, which is a cell wall. This selectively allowing materials to move in and out of the cell wall is for the part labeled Q, which is a cell membrane. So this is also wrong. Then C, it protects the cell from mechanical injuries. This part Y, which is a cell wall, protects the cell from mechanical injuries. This is right. So the correct answer here is C. And then D, it is where chemical reactions takes place. No, this is wrong, because chemical reactions takes place in the part labeled U, and sometimes even in the chloroplast for photosynthesis, because photosynthesis is a chemical process. So here the correct answer is C. The part labeled Y, which is a cell wall, protects the cell from mechanical injuries. So the sixth question, grade 9 learners identified the hazard symbol below on a container. So they identified this symbol here on the container. Then the question is, what is the meaning of the symbol above? So in this case, before we identify this symbol, it's very important for us to bring other symbols which are related to this one, or other symbols of the hazards in a lab. So here we have a symbol like this. You can see in the first case, this is what we call a corrosive. This is a symbol which represent a corrosive substance. The second one represent a symbol which represent an oxidizer, a substance that can catch fire easily. Then this one represent a substance, or represent a toxic substance. This is for toxic, a substance that if you are in contact with it, it can harm you. Then this one indicate a substance which can irritate. And then the last one indicates a substance which is carcinogenic, a substance that can cause cancer. So the symbol that we have here on the screen or on the question is for a radioactive. So the question is, what is the meaning of the symbol above? So in this case, we have said A is toxic. This one is not for toxic because we have seen a toxic symbol is for this one. Then B, carcinogenic. Carcinogenic, we have seen it is simple down here, a substance that can cause cancer. So B is wrong also. C, radioactive. So we have said this one is for radioactive. That is correct. And then D is for oxidizer. Oxidizer, the symbol for oxidizer, we have it here on the right side. So this one is not for oxidizer. So the correct answer here is C, radioactive, a substance that can emit radioactive rays. Question 7. During a group discussion, grade 8 learners discussed the types of mixtures. Which one of the following pairs consist of homogeneous mixture? Before we even determine which one represents homogeneous mixture, it's very important for us to know what is an homogeneous mixture. A homogeneous mixture is a mixture in which the particles in the mixture are uniformly distributed so that you cannot distinguish each and every part. So in this case, we have sand and water. This is not even a homogeneous mixture. Then we have oil and water. This is also an heterogeneous mixture. So A cannot be an homogeneous mixture. Sugar and water, this one is correct. It is a homogeneous mixture. Then milk and water, this one is also correct. It's an homogeneous mixture. If you mix milk and water or sugar and water, you cannot distinguish where the sugar is or where the milk is or where the water is. Then C, salt and sand, this one is an heterogeneous mixture. Flour and water, this one is also an heterogeneous mixture. Vinegar and oil and flour and oil, this one is also an heterogeneous mixture. So the correct answer here is B, a set which represents homogeneous mixture, a mixture in which particles are uniformly distributed, is sugar and water and also milk and water. Then another question, grade 8 learners studied the pH of different substances. Use it to answer question 8 and 9. So we have a substance here. We have a substance Q, P, R, S, and T. And then we have their pH value. pH value is a value which indicates either a substance is acidic or basic, and it runs from 0 to 14. So in this case, the first question is, which substance is most likely to be sulfuric acid? Then which substance is most likely to be water? Before we answer this question, let's look at the pH chart. So the pH chart here represents substances or the group of substances and numbers which indicate whether a substance is acidic, basic, or neutral. Like in this case, from number 1 to number 6.5 or 6.9, all these substances are acidic. These are acidic substances. Then at 7, this substance is neutral at 7. Then from 7.1 to 14, the substances are basic. So in this case, any substance or any pH value above 7, that substance is basic. Any value below 7, that substance is acidic. And then any value at 7, that substance is basic. Then another thing that you should note is that this pH chart, from 1, 2, and 3, these are very strong acids. These are very strong acids. Then from 3 to 6.5, these are weak acids. These are weak acids, like the sour milk. 7, it's neutral, we have said. Then 7.1 to 11 or to 10.5, we have weak bases. And then from 11.5 to 14, we have strong bases. Now let's go to the question. Before we answer the question again, let's categorize already this one. Q is a weak This is a weak acid because it's above 3. P is at 7. This is neutral. This is neutral. R is at 14. This is a strong base. Then S is at 10, which is a weak base. And then T is at 1. This is a very strong acid. And examples of strong acid that we have is like sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid. We have hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid. These are examples of strong acids. We also have nitric 5 acid. Nitric 5 acid. So in this case, let's look at which substance is most likely to be sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid, we have said, is a very strong acid, so its pH value should be below 3. So in this case, a substance which is below 3, A, P is at 7, this one cannot be. B, R is at 14, this one cannot be. C, S, 10, the pH value of S is 10, this one cannot be. Then D, we have T is a pH value of 1, and since sulfuric 6 acid is a strong acid, therefore D is a strong acid, or D is sulfuric 6 acid. So in this case, this is the correct answer. Question 9. Which substance is most likely to be water? Water is neutral. So if water is neutral, then it should have a pH value of 7, because we have said at 7, that's where we have neutral substances. So the substance with a pH value of 7 here is P. So A, P, this is correct because the pH value is 7. B cannot be. R is a very strong base. S is 10. This is a very weak base. And then D, it has T. T is a very strong acid with a pH value of 1. So the substance which is likely to be water, because water is neutral, is P with a pH value of 7. So question 10, a cell was magnified 200 times using a light microscope, whose eyepiece lens magnification was times 10. What was the magnification of the objective lens? What was the magnification of the objective lens? So in this case, let's write down what we have. We have magnification as times 200. Then we have the eyepiece lens. Let's write eyepiece lens as times 10. And then we are looking for objective lens. Let's indicate with symbols. Objective lens, that's what we are looking for. So in this case, we know magnification is equals to eyepiece lens times objective lens. Magnification is equals to eyepiece lens times objective lens. So in this case, we have magnification as times 200, which is equals to eyepiece lens as times 10, and then we multiply by the objective lens value, multiply by objective lens, which we are looking for. So for us to get the objective lens, then we will divide by times 10 on both sides, divided by times 10. Then in this case, it's going to be, this times 10 will go with this one. Then 200 divided by 10, 10 will cancel with that one. Then now we will remain with objective lens value is equals to times 20. So the objective lens is times 20. This is the correct answer. So A times 2000, this is wrong. B times 200, this is what we are given as magnification, which is also wrong. Then C times 20, this one is correct. Then D times 100, this one is wrong. So the correct answer here is C. Question 11, grade 8 learners listened or listed the natural sources of electricity. Which one of the following was wrong? So here, the learners listed the natural sources of electricity. Now, which one is wrong? A, hydroelectric power. This one is a natural source. It's correct. B, a geothermal power. This one is also correct. It's a natural source. C, a solar power. This one is also correct because they tap electricity using photocells. Then D, a dry cell. A dry cell is not a natural source of electricity. A dry cell is a transducer, is a device which transforms chemical energy to electrical energy. So it acts as a transducer and a store of energy. So this one is not a correct natural source of energy. So the correct answer, because the question is asking which of the following was wrong. So in this case, B was wrong because dry cell cannot be a natural source of energy. Question 12, a complete path in which electric current, a complete path in which electric current flows from one terminal to another is called. So we want to know a path where current can flow from one terminal to another is called A, electric current. This is wrong because electric current is the flow of charges per unit time. So this one is wrong. Electric circuit, this one is correct in this case because a complete path like this one you can see here where a current or which comes from the positive terminal flows in a complete path from the positive terminal to the negative terminal. That's what we call an electric circuit. Then C, voltage. This one is wrong. So this one cannot be. In this case, we indicate there. And then D, electric charge. No, this is either a positive or it's a property of charges, either positive or negative. This one is also wrong. So the correct answer, which answers the question, a path in which electric current flows from one terminal to another is called an electric circuit. And an example of an electric circuit is the one that I've shown here on the screen. Question 13. Samuel is able to clean and maintain scientific apparatus properly and safely. Which of the following basic scientific skills has Samuel acquired? Let's read the question again. Samuel is able to clean and maintain scientific apparatus properly and safely. Which of the following basic science skills has Samuel acquired? Let's start with A. A, measuring. Measuring is acquired when one is able to determine the size of a physical quantity, either measuring length, measuring time, measuring mass. So in this case, Samuel is not measuring anything. So measurement or measuring scales cannot be part of cleaning and handling. B, manipulative. Manipulative is when you are able to handle apparatus, clean apparatus. Remember, when you are cleaning apparatus, you are handling them and then maintaining them. Be able to identify this apparatus and also know the proper use of the same and also maintain them so that they don't break. So in this case, manipulative skills is a skill which is acquired when one is able to clean, maintain, and safely use the apparatus. So this one is applicable here. Then C, conclusion. Conclusion is when you have done a scientific research and then you are drawing laws and principles. So in this case, cleaning and maintaining is not a conclusion skill. Then classification. Classification is a scientific skill which is acquired when someone is able to identify and distinguish or classify different substances. Like you can say, these are beakers, these are volumetric flasks, this is a microscope. So when you are able to identify and classify different apparatus, that's when you can acquire a classification skill. But in this case, it's cleaning and maintaining. So classification is not a skill here. So the correct answer is manipulative skill. Then question 14, grade 9 learners were asked to state examples of substances that sublimes. Which one of the following answer is incorrect? So these substances, the learners were told to state substances which undergo sublimation. And what is sublimation? Sublimation is a process in which solids change directly into gases. And the opposite of the word sublimation is deposition. So in this case, learners were told to identify substances which undergo sublimation, where you have a solid changing direct to a gas. So in this case, they began with frozen carbon dioxide. This one is correct. This one is correct. We call it sometimes dry ice. The other name for frozen carbon oxide or carbon dioxide is dry ice. So this one is correct. B, iodine. This one is also correct. It sublimes. It changes from solid to gas. C, sodium chloride. Sodium chloride is an ionic substance. This one, when you heat it, it changes to a liquid. And then when you heat that liquid, it changes to a gas. So this one cannot undergo sublimation. Then D is menthol. Menthol undergoes sublimation. So apart from these substances which I've said they undergo sublimation here, we have other substances like benzoic acid. We have iron 3 chloride. And then we have ammonium. We have ammonium chloride. These are other substances which undergo sublimation. When you subject them to heat in solid state, they change directly into gas. So the correct answer here, which of the following answer is incorrect? A substance which does not undergo sublimation here is sodium chloride, which is C. So question 15 and 16, the question reads, the diagram below shows part of a female reproductive system. Study it and answer questions 15 and 16. So you can see the diagram there. And before we can go to any question, let's label these parts. So the part which is labeled Q, this part labeled Q, is this part here, which we call the uterus. So this one is the uterus. Then the part which is labeled V is this part here, which we call the fallopian tube. This is a fallopian tube, or which sometimes we can call it an oviduct. Then we have part labeled Z. The part labeled Z is this one here, which we call an ovary. This is an ovary. And then the part labeled W is this part here, which we call a vagina. This one here is a vagina. So now the question is question 15. Which of the following processes take place at the part labeled Q? The part labeled Q, we have said, is a uterus. A uterus, that is where implantation take place. So in this case, A, fertilization, no. Fertilization takes place in the part labeled V. Fertilization takes place in the fallopian tube. Then B, implantation, we have said in the uterus, that's where implantation takes place, so this is correct. Then C, ovulation. Ovulation takes place in the ovary, so this one cannot be. And then deposition. Deposition does not take place in the uterus. So the correct answer here is B. B is the implantation. Implantation takes place in the uterus. Question 16, which of the following gives the correct name of part labeled W and its function? The part labeled W is a vagina. Sometimes we call it a path canal. It's a path canal. So A, ureter or a urethra. A urethra is not even a part of a female reproductive system. This is a part of a urinary system. So A is disqualified because it's not even among the part of a female reproductive system. It lies under a human urinary system. B, birth canal, act as a pathway for the child and also receive sperms from the penis. So this one is correct. The birth canal, or sometimes we call it a vagina, is a part which acts as a pathway for the child and also receives sperms from the penis. C, vagina, the word is correct, but the function produces ova and secrete hormones. This one, the function is wrong, but the name is an alternative of a birth canal. So this one is incorrect because the function is incorrect. Then suffix, which one? This one we have here, where implantation takes place. Implantation does not take place in the suffix. So this one is also wrong. So the correct answer here is a path canal, or sometimes we call it a vagina, and the function of the vagina is to act as a pathway for the child and also receive sperms from the penis. Then question 17, an atom of an element has an electron arrangement of 2, 8, 2. What is the name given to the element? So here we have the electron arrangement. But before we answer or we give the name of the element, it's very important for us to know that we use the electron arrangement to determine the number of protons of the element. And the number of protons of the element, which we call atomic number, is the chemical identity of that element. So in this case, this electron arrangement, that is 2, 8, 2, it means this atom has 12 electrons, 12 electrons. And since the number of electrons is equals to the number of protons, therefore this element has 12 protons. That is correct. Now, what is the chemical identity of an atom with 12 protons? The chemical identity of an atom with 12 protons is magnesium. So in this case, the correct answer is C. Atomic number 12 is magnesium. For carbon is atomic number 6. Electron arrangement to 4. For aluminium is atomic number 13. Electron arrangement for magnesium is 2, 8, 3. Sodium is atomic number 11. This atomic number 11. And the electron arrangement of sodium is 2, 8, 1. So in this case, the correct answer here is magnesium, because we use this electron arrangement to determine the number of electron. And since the number of electrons is equal to the number of protons, then the atomic number is 12. And the chemical identity of atomic number 12 is magnesium. Question 18. A grade 7 learner was grouping different changes. Which of the following pairs consist of physical change only? Physical change, where there is no energy which is involved or which is released or absorbed. The reaction which is reversible, that's what we call a physical change. So in this case, melting, you are only changing physically from a solid state to liquid state. So melting is correct. Dissolving salt in water, this one is also correct, because you can heat and reverse to form crystals. So the first one is correct. Then burning of wood, you cannot reverse wood back to what it was. Rusting is a chemical process where iron react with oxygen and water to form a hydrated iron 3 oxide, which we call rust. So in this case, these are chemical reaction. Digesting food, these are chemical reaction. Cooking of an egg, this one is also a chemical reaction, because some mass is lost. Then, so this one is not. Then in this, another thing, baking a cake, this is a chemical reaction. And then boiling water, this is a physical reaction. But now in this case, they are asking which one of the pair consists of a physical change only. This one is a chemical change, this is a physical change, so this one cannot. Digesting food and cooking egg, these are chemical reactions. So burning wood and rusting of iron, these are chemical reactions. So the only one which is correct is melting ice and dissolving salt in water. So the correct answer is A, is the only one which consists a process which is a physical change only. Question 19. Which of the following statements best describes osmosis? So before we go even to the options, let's define osmosis. Osmosis is the movement of water molecules from a region of high water concentration to a region of low water concentration through a impermeable membrane. So in this case, let's go to option 1. A says movement of water from a region of low concentration to a region of high concentration. This is wrong because we have said osmosis is the movement of water molecules from a region of high concentration. Here they are saying from low concentration. So this one is wrong. B, movement of water from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration through a impermeable membrane. This one is correct. It is exactly the way I've defined it. C, movement of solutes from a region of high concentration to low concentration. Solutes, these are solids which can dissolve in a liquid. So in this case, this one does not make sense. Then D, movement of gases through a impermeable membrane. This one is also wrong. So the correct answer here is B, which is the movement of water from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration through a impermeable membrane. Question 20. What is the main function of the white blood cells in a human body? What we need to know is that blood has different components. Components of blood. Blood has different components and each component performs a different function. The first component is a white blood cell. The second component is a red blood cell. The third one is what we call plasma, and then the fourth one is what we call platelets. So each of these one perform a specific role. Like in this case, the first one, which is a white blood cell, it performs a function of fighting diseases. This one fight diseases. Then the second one, which is a red blood cell, this one transports oxygen in the body. The third one, which is plasma, this one transports nutrients like vitamins and many other. Then the fourth one, platelets, perform what we call clothing. Clothing is when you get an injury and then the blood clots over to seal blood from overflowing. That's what you call clothing. So in this case, let's now go to the question. What is the main function of the white blood cell in a human body? A, transporting oxygen. This one we have said is for the red blood cell. Fighting diseases, this is correct. This is for the white blood cell. Clotting, this one we have said is for the platelets. And then transporting nutrients, this one we have said is for plasma. So the correct answer here, the function of white blood cell is to fight diseases. So let's now move to section B, where we're going to handle structured questions. Question 21 reads, Grade 8 learners were learning about classes of fire. The table below shows the classes of fire and their causes. Match the class to their causes. So in this case, we have class A, B, C, D, and E. Then we have their causes as caused by propane, butane, and methane. Then we have electrical appliances. We have compatible metals such as potassium, sodium. We have liquids such as grease, oil, paraffin, and petrol. Then we have compatible materials such as wood, paper, and plastic. So in this case, we are required to match the classes to their causes. So in this case, the first, or class A fire, which is class A, is caused by compatible materials such as wood, paper, and plastic. So in this case, class A, let's mark it with blue. Class A is caused by compatible materials such as wood, paper, and plastic. Then class B fire is caused by liquids such as grease, paraffin, and oil. So class B, let's mark it with the green, is caused by liquids such as grease, oil, and petrol. Then class C fires are caused by gases such as propane, butane, and methane. So class C caused by gases such as propane, butane, and methane. Then we have class D fires, which are caused by compatible metals such as potassium and sodium. So in this case, class D are caused by compatible metals such as potassium and sodium. And then finally, class E, which are caused by electrical appliances. Class D or class E are fires which are caused by electrical appliances. Question 22. In an experiment, grade 8 learners poured water in a beaker and dropped ink in the water. Question 1. What observation did the learners make? Before we answer the question, let's know what we are expected to give. When we are told to give observation, in this case, observations in science are given based on the 5 senses in a human being. What you can see, what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste, and also what you can hear. So in this case, if you drop ink inside water in a beaker, what observation can you make? You can see the ink spreading. So in this case, you will say the ink spread through the water in the beaker. And then to explain that, you say it moved from a region where it was highly concentrated to a region where it was lowly concentrated, because when you drop this ink inside a beaker, it got concentrated at one point, but the rest of the water does not have ink. So this ink moved from where it was highly concentrated to where it was lowly concentrated, and that one is simply diffusion. Then question B asks, which process were the learners demonstrating? So the process that the learners were demonstrating is diffusion. Diffusion is the movement of particles from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration, just like we have observed that this ink moved from a region where it was highly concentrated to where it was lowly concentrated. Another question C, state and explain 2 factors that affect the process named above. Factors which affect diffusion. So in this case, the first factor is temperature. High temperature increases the movement of molecules, thus increasing the rate of diffusion. If the temperature is increased, the particles will gain more kinetic energy and they will move faster. So diffusion will take place very fast. So the first factor is temperature. The second factor is concentration gradient. The greater the difference in concentration between high and low areas, the faster the rate of diffusion. So like in this case, where the ink is dropped, that is where we have high concentration. Where there is no ink on the other part of the beaker, that's where we have low concentration. So if that gradient is large or that slope is large, then diffusion takes place very fast. Then the third one, which you can add, is surface area to volume ratio. And in this case, diffusion occurs faster in smaller organisms or in smaller particles compared to larger particles. Smaller particles or small organisms have a larger surface area to volume ratio. So when the volume ratio or surface area to volume ratio is great, then diffusion takes place faster. And if the surface area to volume ratio is large, then diffusion takes place slow. Question 23. What do you understand by the term acid-base indicator? An acid-base indicator is a substance that is used to determine whether a substance is acidic, basic, or neutral. So if you have any substance which you can use to determine whether a substance is acidic, basic, or neutral, in that case, that's what we call an acid-base indicator. Then B, list down 3 common acid-base indicators in the school laboratory. In a school laboratory, some of the common indicators that we have include 1, we have phenolphthalein indicator. 2, we have methyl orange. 3, we have litmus paper. This is the most common one, a litmus paper. And then we have a universal indicator, which is also very common. Then question C, the table below shows color change of the litmus paper indicators in different solutions. Then the first one, we have acidic solution. So here we have 1, we have acidic solution. 2, we have a neutral solution. Then 3, we have a basic solution. So we have a red litmus paper here. Then we have a blue litmus paper here. So for us to answer this question, we need this diagram. And in this case, we have the first one here, which is acidic solution. Then we have the second one here is a neutral solution. Then we have the third one here, which is a basic solution. Then we have litmus papers inside. So in an acidic solution, a red litmus paper, this first one here, a red litmus paper, we have a red litmus paper here. The red litmus paper remains red, correct in this case. And then a blue litmus paper, we have a blue here. This is a blue litmus paper. A blue litmus paper turns red. It has turned red here. So a blue litmus paper turns red in acidic solution. You can use this diagram to just see that. Then the second one, a neutral solution. In a neutral solution, we have a red litmus paper. In a neutral solution, this is the red litmus paper. It has remained red. It's red. So in a neutral solution, a red litmus paper remains red. And then in the same neutral solution, a blue litmus paper remains blue. So in this case, blue litmus paper will remain blue. As they have indicated here, it's correct. Then let's go to the third one for basic solution. In a basic solution, a red litmus paper, I want to begin with a red litmus paper. This is the red litmus paper partially dipped. It has turned blue. So a red litmus paper in a basic solution changes to blue. While a blue litmus paper, this one here, a blue litmus paper remains blue. So in this case, blue litmus paper remains blue. So in this case, Roman 1 is red, Roman 2 is blue, and then Roman 3 here is red. Question 24. Define the term density and state its SI unit. So in this case, we define density as the amount of mass or amount of matter contained in a given volume of a substance. This one we can write it in simple as density is equals to mass per unit volume from the definition. Since we know the SI unit of mass is kilogram, then the SI unit of volume is cubic meter, then we can now give the SI unit of density as kilogram per cubic meter. This is the SI unit of density, which we can give in simple as kg per cubic meter, like that. Then the second question B, a carpenter began working on the block of wood below that weighs 2,700 grams. What was the density of the wood? Show your working in SI unit. So in this case, what we are required to do first is to write down what we have been given. In this case, we are given mass, which is 2,700 grams. The second thing that we are given is the length, width, and height. We have been given length as 20 centimeter. Width, we have been given as 5 centimeter. And then the height, we have been given as 10 centimeter. So from this one, we can calculate volume as length times width times height, which is the same as 20 centimeter times 5 centimeter times 10 centimeter. So our volume is going to be 1,000 cubic centimeter. So we have, in this case, we have mass and we have volume. And then now we can write our formula for calculating density. Density is equals to mass per unit volume, which in this case, if we write in simples, we write density is written as rho is equals to mass m over volume capital V. Then now if we substitute this mass and this volume in this formula, then now it's going to be density is equals to mass, which is 2,700 grams, divided by 1,000 cubic centimeter. Then now in this case, we can solve this one by density is equals to 2,700 grams divided by 1,000 cubic centimeter. This 0 we'll go with this one and this one point, it will be there. So we will have our density as 2.7 grams. Remember the unit up there, grams per cubic centimeter. But now the question is, you calculate in SI unit, and the SI unit we have said is kilogram per cubic meter. So now we have density in grams per cubic centimeter. Then in this case now we have to convert these grams per cubic centimeter to kilogram per cubic meter. And we use this simple relationship. 1 gram per cubic centimeter is equals to 1000 kilogram per cubic meter. Therefore, in this case, if we have 2.7 gram per cubic centimeter, then if we are going to cross multiply here, we are going to have our 2.7 gram per cubic centimeter times 1000 kilogram per cubic meter divided by 1 gram per cubic centimeter. Then in this case, gram per cubic centimeter will cancel with this one. Our unit will remain as kilogram per cubic meter. Then 2.7 times 1000. Then our final answer of density is going to be 2700 kilogram per cubic meter, like that. Then question 25, define the term magnification and name one laboratory instrument used for magnification. So in this case, you are supposed to define magnification and then name at least one instrument which is used for magnification. So in this case, magnification is defined as the process of making an object appear larger than it actually is, or is a process of making an object appear larger than its actual size. That's what we call magnification. And in the lab, we have very many apparatus which can be used to magnify, but one of it is called a microscope. A microscope. We can either use electric microscope or light microscope. Another one is a hand lens. A hand lens, sometimes we call it a magnifying lens. So the two apparatus which can be used to magnify in a laboratory, we have a microscope and a hand lens, or sometimes we call it a magnifying lens. They make objects appear larger than they actually are. Then question B, a grade 8 learner was viewing an onion cell using a light microscope. If the eyepiece lens magnification was times 10, while the objective lens was times 40, calculate the total magnification. So in this case, what we are required to do first is to list down what we have. The first thing that we have is the eyepiece lens. Eyepiece lens magnification, which is times 10. Then another thing that we have is objective lens. Objective lens, which is in this case times 40. Then now we are required, it's very important for us to write down what we are required to do. We are required to calculate total magnification. Total magnification. Magnification, this is what we are looking for. So in this case, we just write a very simple formula. Total magnification is equals to eyepiece lens times objective lens. So in this case, we have the eyepiece lens and we have objective lens. So for us to get total magnification, in this case, let's use this total magnification is equals to, we are going to take eyepiece lens, which is times 10, and then we multiply it with objective lens, which is times 40. Therefore, in this case, our total magnification is going to be times 400. 10 times 40 is 400. So in this case, it is times 400, and this is the correct answer. So that will mark the end of this paper. In the next paper, we're going to discuss paper 2 of this paper 1. Stay tuned and don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and also share with your friends.